table tags where we can have columns, symbols, and other things. And then in the last class, we have seen the CSS part with the HTML. Now, today, we will move further into the CSS part itself. I actually can't say only CSS. We will move further with the CSS as well as HTML. So we will look at how to use the div tag or division tag. Now remember, we have seen the tables tag, which is used to divide the web pages. The same way, even the division tag or div tag, what we call, is also used to divide the web page into several divisions. Now, this div tag, if we just simply use it, it's an HTML tag actually. But if we use it without CSS, it will not have any effect. Okay, now let me just and let me share my desktop. Oh. Okay. Okay, now we were using this the index.html page where we had certain text and so and so. Now, what we will do is we will use the same index.html page, and then within this page, let us try to look at how the div tags are used. Now, suppose if I have a table tag here, just close this table tag. And within table tag, obviously, I need to create a row. And I'll create another row. Okay, within a row, let me create a cell with PD. So this is one row and one cell. Again, another row and cell. Instead of having this in a para tag, what I'll do is I'll have this text in the first cell, first row, first cell. Obviously, I mean, we don't have any other this thing, and then I'll have this part in the second row, first cell. And let us have this also over here inside the cell itself, and just remove this para tag. And over here also we have this heading as this is text, and let me place it here. So let us save this one, and I'll just refresh it. Now, these two things have come in as part of the row itself. So I'll just give the border for the table. Border is an attribute of the table. I'll just give one as the border. That is the size of the border. So if you look at it, what happens is this forms one of the This is the first row and only one cell, which I am highlighting. You can see the borders also. And then this is the second row with one, that's the only column or only cell. You can have the borders also, you can see. Now, this is how we will be able to divide the web pages into so categories. Now, in the same way, obviously, now we will be using the div tag. Now, div tag is also used for organizing the content of the web page. And there are several advantages, as I told earlier. And then the div tag divides the entire content into different sections, or entire web page into different sections. Let us look at what happens with the div tag. Now, I'll do one thing. I will create. This is the index.html. Let us save as, let's say, index C. Let me say first, or let's say first dot HTML, where we will use div tags. I'll just have the output of first also in the browser. This is the first. I'll just zoom in. This is your first.html. And this is 200. And this is index.html. Here we will be changing the first.html. Now, instead of this table tag, obviously what this signifies is that we are dividing the web page into two sections here. Let's say this is the first section and this is the second section. So instead of using table tags, what we will do is we will use the div tags. Now, div tag is not part of CSS. It's a tag. It's an HTML part. So here, instead of having this table TRTD, I'll use div. So this will be one section. So I'm using div here, and then we will not have this TR and TD also tag. I'll just close this div part tag here. Then again for this TD and all, I'll just open a div tag. And then we will close this div. Oh, where is it? Okay. I'll just close this div tag over here. So we are using this div tag to divide the web page into two sections. That is, this is one section and this is the other section. So what actually we want is, this is the first section, this is the second section. Let us save this and let us look at what happens. Now you can see that this content, we are not having any borders. It's not a table, it's a div tag. Divided into two sections. Now here, you are not getting what actually, we are not able to know what actually a div tag is going to do or it's doing. Let us look at another scenario. Here we have table. Now what I have is, I have a text here in the first row and I have other text in the second row. Now what I want is, I want these two texts to be side by side. Like two columns in two columns format. So let us go to the index page and let us change, instead of having two different rows, this is one cell or the column, and I'll not close this row over here. I'll not open it. This will become the second, and let us close the row. So here what is happening is, I have changed this into a single row. Sorry, something happened. TR is there, TD. Okay, TD I have not. Okay. Let me close this. And now you can find that we actually created one row and two columns, side by side text. Now, in div, with using div, I have given this as one division. I want this to be another division. Now, if we run this, it's not coming side by side. It's coming one after the other, as what we have seen in the earlier demonstration. But table tag does this. So So how do I do? I mean, how do I have the text in this format or this way, side by side? I want the text to be side by side. And I mean, this is also a section of a web page. This is also another section of the web page. The only difference is that here we are using a tables, and here we are trying to use. This is a section. This is also a section, but this section I wanted to be on the right side, and sample text to be on the left side. So with table tags we have done it, but we use the div tags, but it's not coming as it was supposed to be. So remember that div tag by itself does nothing. It only creates a section. This div tag, what you're seeing here, this div tag by itself does nothing. It does nothing by itself. It is it only divides the web page into sections. But orientation, that is where that particular section should be there, that is not defined in the div tag. Whether it should be one after the other or side by side, or how sections are divided, or the whole web page are divided into different sections, is not done using div tag. Div tag is only for sections, not for the orientation of sections. Even you cannot even create a para break or even a line break using div tag. So as such, div tag only divides into sections, not where that section should be, or we cannot define the orientation of those sections. So remember that. It is only a container. That means if you see this div tag, it's only a container for this, I mean, sorry, the whole text itself, only a container for this text. So here, whatever is within opening div tag and closing div tag, this entire content is the div tag is the container for this entire content. That's all. A div tag by itself does nothing. Now, then how do we assign what the div tag should do, or how the orientation of the div tag should be? Whether it should be side by side or the section should be one after the other. That is done using the CSS. Now, we will, before moving to that CSS part, the first thing is every tag, as it has its attributes, the same way there is an attribute known as ID in HTML5. Let's say HTML itself. In the HTML, every tag will have an attribute known as ID, and that's an optional attribute. But when we use that ID attribute, it's for the ID unique. It gives the unique identity or unique value for the tag. So here we have two different div tags. This is the first div tag, the second div tag. So we will use an attribute known as ID. We will use the attribute known as an ID. Now let us call this let's say header. Let's say my header, and we will give a different ID for this time. ID equal to, let's say, my footer. Let's say, let me use a common. I'll just make this small. Let's use everything in small cases. So this becomes the header part. This becomes the footer part. We are defining two divisions now, footer and header. Let us also have one more thing. Let's I'm just going to copy this and paste it. So here let us define my content. Let's say my main content, and see also I'll make it small. Main content. Now, when ID attribute is used for a tag, this is a div tag, this is also a div tag, and this is also a div tag. When we are using ID attribute, the values of the ID must be unique. You cannot have same names values in the ID attribute. It should be unique. so that when we use CSS, then we will be able to define different properties for different divisions. This is the first header division, this is main content, and this is the footer division. So we will be able to define different divisions. Now, how do we do that? You can use an internal CSS, or you can use an external CSS also. So what I'll do is, within this, we already have seen this external CSS over here. And it's much better to use external CSS because anyway, when we develop different web pages for this one, we want to use the same styles. So here we have something known as mystyles.css file, which in the last class we have seen and we have created here. I'll just open this for editing. Now within this class, let us have the para as itself. Let us have the why when we have I removed para as tag, so this para tag is no way used right now because we don't have paras. We are having divisions there, though we can use paragraphs inside that. But let us move further. Anyway, now here what will I do is I will define my the properties for this tag. Sorry, where is that? Properties for this tag. That is my header, which is a division. Now, if I have to have a property for div, I can simply use div, open the brackets, and then close the brackets. And within brackets, I can have any property within brackets. But once I do this, what happens is it will be this property will be reflected everywhere I use the div tag, even for this, even for this, even for the third div also it will be common. But what we need is we need a different properties for my header, that is the division, my main content. So when we are using ID attribute, we can use the name, the value of this ID, that is my header, in the CSS, my header in the CSS. Same way, we will open and close the declaration for the properties or the CSS. But if it is a tag, then we will directly use it as it is. But if it's an ID value of the ID in your HTML page, then it should be preceded by hash. If you are defining properties for the ID, use hash and then the value of that ID. So this, remember that. So we will have three things here. One is for my header, the other one for my main content. My main content. So we are not yet defined any properties here, but just let me declare all these IDs and my footer. Is the meeting getting recorded? Ah, yes. My footer. Even my footer is an ID part, so I'll have the hash. Okay. Now, rest of the things are same. So let us say that the header should be, let's say, in italics. So what I will do, we have, let me, copy all this attributes here. My header. Now, then I'll have the next one as, let's say, font style. Let me have this style as italics. So I'll say that is the I tag what we use. Last class I have typed something. I have shown you something about font style equal to bold. We wrote bold. Actually, I found out. I mean, it was not when we have seen the demonstration here. It was not working. Actually, that bold style was for the previous versions. and now it is not supported. So there is no such thing as bold, which I have shown you in the last class. So that is, don't use that way. To make a text into bold, use the B tag itself. So this style is no more supported. So that is one thing. Okay. Now we will use italics, and then let's say the font size is, let's say 18. Then rest of the content in my container, we will not have the color. Let us have the default color, and there will not be any font size, font style. We will have 12 as the font size, and in the footer, we will just change the footer to have again. Let's say we will have italics, but footer, let us make it in a red color, and points, let's say 12. Let's say 16. So this is how we can define the properties for the IDs. Now remember this: my header, my main content, and my footer. All these are, all this is for same tag, which is div. But every div tag, since it has a different ID, that property will be used. That corresponding property will be used. So I'll just remove from the main content. Let me have this. I will remove this part. And this green, I'll remove it in H1 from the footer. This just let me have only this text, and then let us have this on this part itself. This is H1, and we will remove these two. Now let us save this and refresh this part. Oh, there's something, some problem. Let me just go through this. Where is the style? Style is there. I have a semicolon, semicolon, semicolon everywhere I have. Okay, I have not saved the styles file. It's not saved. Style file is not saved. So that CSS, he doesn't know what that CSS is. So it's, I'll just let me save the style file. And now once I save this, let me refresh it. You can find that. This is the header. This is the footer. And this part is the main content. Though all three are used with the same division. That is same used with the same div tag. Now let us look at what happens. I'll just make this as a different window. And let us look at this. What is this index page where we used text? I'll just make it a shorter one. And we will make this as shorter. Let us. Now here, oh, anyway, it's automatically adjusting, but that was not the point. But the point was to show you when we are using table tags, what actually is happening is you will have a scroll bar here, a horizontal scroll bar. So this is getting adjusted by itself. That was not supposed to happen actually. Now you can see we got the scroll bar. Now this scroll bar will not happen in terms how much is the size? 400. We'll make this as 400. It will not have, there will not be any horizontal scroll bar. You can see here, you can see that there is, you will get the horizontal scroll bar when we are using table tags. When we use the div tags, the entire content is adjusted according to the size of the view. That is, let's say this is the view of our phone. And this is the view of our what do you call, same on a phone itself. So what happens is, on a phone, if you get the horizontal bar, it's not convenient to browse the text on a web page. But whereas if you see this div tag, when you're using a div tag, this gets adjusted itself, uh, I mean vertically. So the only thing is, if the size of the text gets size of the text gets larger, then we don't have to use a scroll bar. When we are using div, we will just have to use the vertical bar, which is much flexible to go, downwards than sidewards in a mobile phone or a different view or viewport or devices of different size. So this is the advantage there, and that is why nobody is now preferring the table tags to be used in web pages. Most of them are preferring the use of the div tags, and then define and not only and define the properties in the uh, CSS for different sections. And now, not only that, we can just have this font family and font color and all. We can also have the orientations, that whether this content should start from some place at this part, right part of our page, or the footer should starts from the lower side, and all these things can be defined using different border attributes, as well as the alignment of the text can also be defined using the CSS. There's so many properties there, and there are a lot of what do you call properties with. You can go to the HTTP, W3 org, W3C org, and W3 schools. There they have listed the complete all the properties in a reference part. There's a lot of properties there that can be used. So this was just the demonstration of showing how this was just a demonstration to show how an IDs can be used instead of having the properties for the tags. Now the other thing is we also have a span tag. This span tag, let's come here. Okay, this is the text. Let us have the span tag. This text. There is a span tag. This works same way as the div tag. Very similar to div tag. That is, as div tag does nothing by itself, the same way even span tag does nothing by itself. The difference is that the div tag, you can change the style of the entire division or a section. For example, this is the complete division from this div tag to this div tag. This everything inside this is a complete division. So we can change the properties or look and feel of the entire division using div tag. That is, this is my container. So the style for that my container, as we had this as the font family and font size as 12. But suppose if I want to make what is lorem ipsum, this only this text, I want to have in a different style. Let me say I want to have in a green color with instead of text as 12, I want to have it in 14 size. Then how do I do? So what I need to do is if I make change in this main content, that is, if I make it color as green over here, what happens is the entire division will be in a green color. That is, the entire text from here till here will be in a green color. So instead of that, I just want to have a different style for only this text, this part of the text. So in that case, I can use a spam tag. Spam tags works locally. That is, we say that it is best suited for inline styles. Inline styles. So division, when we make change in the property, it gets reflected for the entire division. The style is defined for the entire division. But when we change this, we want to change a part, a particular text or particular content, then we can use spam, which works as the inline styles. Now, spam also, obviously, we need to, will not do anything by itself. So we need to have an ID. So let us have this ID as, let's say, S1. Three IDs you can use, doesn't matter. S1. And then this has to be defined. This ID has to be defined. The style has to be defined in the CSS using this ID. Now, let us come here. Now, when here, we need to, my footer is there. So here we need to now define the S1. Now let's say that let us just have the color as green. Let's say green. Now when we have this color as green, S1, it's not a tag. If it would have been a tag, we can directly use S1 like div we used, like H1 we used, like P we used. We can directly use it as H1, S1, sorry, S1. But here, my footer was it's not a tag, it's an ID there. So we used hash. We used hash for that. Now what happens is when I'm using span, span has S1. That's the ID. But here there will be a confusion. If I use this as the ID and S1, if I have a hash over here, so we may not know that whether this style is for a complete division or is it for a inline style or is it used for inline style. So the span tag will have class as the attribute, not the ID, but a class as the attribute. And this class, we have defined S1. We are named it to S1. So here we will not use hash. We will use dot. We will use dot for the class and define. So just directly by looking at it, at the CSS, the complete CSS, you can say that this is a tag, this is a tag, it's a defined tag in HTML, this is a tag defined in HTML. If something is preceded by hash, then you can say that this is the ID. It will work for that particular division. And if something is preceded by dot, you may know that directly you can say that it works for only as an inline style, as a only for the part, or only for a part section. Part in the section of a web page. So let us now, when we have, so always remember there is a difference. Div will use ID. We need to use ID for the div, and we need to use class for the span and in CSS. And obviously, this classes and all should be, this class, suppose if I want to make something else also, this sample, only the sample part as in green color, I can use the same span as S1. I need not define a different S2 and again define a color for that. So for section, if I want to have a section, so IDs are always unique. But classes, you may use the same class. And wherever you find dot, that means it's a class there. So let us save this my styles over here. Let us save the first also, and let us refresh it and look at. Now you can find that only this part has been made as green. It's I mean visible or not, I don't know, but I mean it's in the green color. Then though the entire the section is the same section. The entire content over here belongs to the same section. So using span tag, we have locally or inline, use the inline style. So this is what is the difference between div and uh, span tag. And div tag and span tags are used, are frequently used rather than using the HTML tags. So this was all about the how to use HTML with CSS. So here we have not seen, we have seen how to use CSS and how to uh, design a web page using an HTML as well as a CSS. But remember, this is not the entire CSS part. CSS is very big. It is so many properties are defined there. And depending upon our need and depending upon our style, we need to use this. Depending upon what styles and what properties we need, we will be using different styles there. So uh, this was about the CSS and HTML. Now, if you have any doubts regarding this, just let us clear up. Then we will move to the other part in the main thing, that is using HTML forms. So if there are any doubts, let me just check this chat for anything. Only roll numbers are there. So if there are no doubts, then we will move further with the HTML forms and input tag control, or we call it as input tags. Let me share my screen. And here we will let me start with a completely new web page. Let me save this also. Let me close that also. Now let me use this. I'll just copy and paste this index page, and let me give the name for this page as register.html. I'll just remove all this text anyway. Just let me remove all this text. Let me give the title as register or registration. Let's say register page. And let us have that same CSS, doesn't matter. I'll remove this table tag from the entire content. Now, we will be working within this body tag. Now, very first thing is let us talk about what are HTML forms. HTML forms is nothing but they are certain controls or certain tags which we use, and those tags creates an input controls. Now, till now, we have just displayed the text to the user. We have not taken any input from the user. We have just displayed something to the user. We have not taken any input from the user or any, any data from the user. So the HTML forms is a way of collecting the data from the user. It's actually an integral part of the entire web development. So it's just like we retrieve something from the user. We have an input from the user. Now, to have the stable the input controls, we need or we will be using something known as a form tag. Form tag. Within this form tag, we will be having all the input controls which can be created on a web page. Now, everybody have seen this. These input controls. Everyone has used these input controls. Now, we will take an example of creating a registration page where we will ask a user about his name. Within form tag, I'm just typing. Let me just note down over here. We will have the name for the user. Then we will ask him about his phone number. Let's ask him about his email. We will ask him about his phone number. Then, let us assume that we are creating a web page for our subject. Let us say that we are creating a web page for electives. For choosing the elective. So let us have. We want the user to select the subject for the electives, or not elective. Let us say that. Let us say department. First thing is which department the user is in. Then we will look at what do you call after department. What should we do? Let us have subjects. Okay, let us have subjects. Then department will be our address. Then let us ask him which country. Okay, before country, let us ask him. Okay, yeah, we will ask country first, so we can rearrange the things later. And let us ask the user about his address. Let us ask the user about his address thing. Now, all these things we are asking user to input. Let us have one more thing. After phone, let us have password. Let me make it very simple. Let us remove this email. Phone name, phone, password, department, subject, country, and address. We will be asking user about this information, and user will type this information. So here we need some input from the user. So we will create the input controls, and the first input control is nothing but it is known as the text input. So name is there. So after name we will have input and tag, and there will be an attribute as type. In this type attribute, I will provide text. That is, user will be entering the text here. Then we need to have the name. Remember, name should be unique. Now I will use S name, because if I use the attribute name also as a name, and then we may have certain confusion. So name is the attribute here. Our value is S name. Let's say student name for that. And let me close this. Now remember that I'm using slash and closing it. So I'm not closing using again input tag slash input tag. So I'm closing it at one instance. Then phone number also, it will just be a text field where user can input text. So let us copy and paste it here. except that I will change the name as PH. What we need is we need unique names here. Remember that. We need unique names. Then what about the password field? Here also user will input text. But this text, when user inputs, if it is of the type text, the password will be seen to the user himself. So when you're typing it, you'll be seen. But usually the passwords are not seen. So here we will have to use password as the. And what about department? पर आवर पे काम कर रख लिया उसको। हाँ पर आवर पे मेहमान हुए अभी नहीं रखती थे बोले तो कर दो बोलो। कल कल तक तो आ रहा कल तो क्लास भी चल रही थी यहाँ पे मैं खुद जाके देखा। Anyway, sorry for the confusion. I mean, disturbance here. Let us come. So password field, if we have text over here, what happens is user will be able to see. So let us look at this one. Now I will just save this. Now here we have name, and then you have the name, the what do you call the text field will appear. Phone text field will appear. Password text field will appear. So let us look at the other things later. Now, if I run this program, will I get a name and the field, phone and the field to enter, and password and the field to enter the password on a single line or on separate lines? Will I get it on a single line or on different lines? Just anyone respond? Same line or different lines? Will it be on same line or will it be on different lines? Anyway, I'll just refresh it. It is on the same line. This is not the problem with the tags and so and so. The thing is, we have not provided a break tag. Let us provide the break tag at the end of every attribute. Sorry, input field. I'm providing at the end everywhere. So let me save this. Just let us refresh this. So you can find that we have a name and then phone number. And this name, I can enter any name over here. I'll just increase the font size. I can enter any name, phone number also I can enter text, any phone number, password also I'm entering. Now here, since we have given password as the text field, it is showing us the result. But suppose so here we need, I mean, since it's a password, we need to have password as the type of the field. So let me save this and just, oh, what happened now? Okay, save. If I refresh it, now this name is visible, phone number is visible, but password will not be visible. It will be hidden by the echo character. Remember that this dot, what you are seeing, or sometimes you see asterisks, that is nothing but it's a echo character. It's an echo character. We call it as an echo character. So if we have text, the complete text will be visible to the user. If you have type as the password, it will be masked with the echo character. Now, obviously here, name, we cannot have this name here, it should be unique. Though, if it is same, it will not have any error. But why I'm saying it should be unique? This is because later when we implement Java program, when we implement the other programs on the web server, we need to retrieve this text and store it in a database. So in that case, we cannot have same names. It should be unique. So let us have this password as PWD as the name for this password. So this, let me just save this. Now, before we move further, we will let us look at some of the other attributes which are available in this text and password field. Now here you can see this is the size of this password field is by default. Now we can have a smaller as well as a larger field. So to do this, what we can use is we can have size, use size as the attribute, and let me give the size as, let me say 10. 10 means only 10 characters. So if I refresh it, you can find that the size has been reduced, so it can have only 10 characters. It will be visible at a time. So let us use this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. I mean, it depends upon the size also. They can have other characters, but the characters will not be visible. You can have other characters at home, but will not be visible. Now, you can restrict that using an attribute as max size. So I'm having max size as the attribute, and this attribute, if I give 50, and I'll save this. Now, once we do that, you can maximum they can be 50 characters. Maximum they can be 50 characters. So they can have many characters, but maximum you can have only 50 characters, not more than 50 characters. So those are the things. Okay, sorry, this is not max size. It's max length actually. It's max length, size and max length. And suppose if I give a size over here instead of 10, if I provide the size as 50. So 50. Let me refresh it. You can see that the size, input size of this field has increased. So we can use the size, and depending on that size attribute, we can have what do you call the visible length of the text box, or what we call this as the input field, or text input control. Then the same thing can also work with the password also. You can have the length. Now phone number. Now what I want is this. You can find there's a phone number here. What I want to do is this phone number field, like date of birth. You may have sometimes dd/mm/YYYY written pre-filled. It will be written. So once a user comes here and then types in, he will know that you have to enter, I mean, in such and such format. So we can have this text filled, pre-filled. We can have this text boxes as pre-filled. For example, phone number. Instead of phone number, assume that we have a date of birth. So I want to say, I want say the user that date of birth should be in YYYY year, then month, and what do you call date. So there is an attribute known as value, and if you have something in this value attribute, if you assign a value, then once the page loads, your input field will have that value. For example, when now page is loading, you're not finding anything in the phone number. So let me use this. Let's say instead of phone number, let's say it's a date of birth. So I want YY, and I want month in terms of October OCT. So let me say MMM and then PD date. So if I have this the attribute, if I save this, if I refresh it, you can find that by default it will be displayed. So if you want to show a user some format that this is how it has to be entered, then we can use now if you want to have a default value in the input field, Then we can use a value attribute and assign a value to that. Now, then next thing is, I'll just remove this value right now. Then let us come to the next. We have seen two things here. One is the input field, that is the text input text control. Then the next one is password control. Let us come to this department. Now, what I want in the department is, I want in the department, let us say we have CSE, IT, EC, and mechanical. 4 departments we have. Now, should I use a text field here so that user types in the department? Can I use text field? As a web developer or web designer or web developer or web engineer, what these days they are saying. So should I have, I want the departments, the pre-defined departments here, CSE, IT, EC, and mechanical. Let us say I'm only trying to give a user only these 4 options. So can I have, or should I use a text field like how we had for the name and phone number? Somebody says radio buttons. Okay. Why radio buttons? Why not a text field? The answer is correct. I'm not saying answer is wrong. Using radio buttons, answer is correct. Perfectly right. But why radio buttons? Why radio buttons? Why radio buttons? Now, let us take a real example. You people were asked some, the department shared some Google Forms now for all of you to fill in some data, to select the subject or which elective you are selecting, so and so. Is it not? Does somebody reply? At least I'll know that you people are there and listening to me. The reply yes or no. They send you Google Sheets, Google Forms. Yes. Now what happens is, one person types in for what is the other elective? This is web technology. I don't even know the other electives. Okay, there is something called as data analytics. Now, one person is typing data analytics. If we have the option, one person typed in data analytics complete. The other person types it in DA. Third person types data analytics in complete in upper cases. The same way here also, if I have input field, if I give the user option to type, what will happen is one person will type computer science. The second person will type CSE. Third person may type CS. Fourth person may type computer CSI. That's it. That's it. Leave it. Now, what will be the problem? All are from computer science. All users will register as computer science students. So what will happen? What is the problem? What is the problem? Is there any problem? Yes, there is a very big problem, lot of problem may arise. Why? Because this data, when you are typing, if I am typing computer, okay, this is a password, sorry. Let's say here, computer, the other person type science, third person will type SIC, fourth person will type com, SIC. Now what happens is, retrieval of data is a very big problem. Now somebody has answered, data retrieval problem. Yes, this data, this entire content on a web page, when user fills on a web page or anywhere, it is stored in a database. Now, let us forget about what that database is. It may be a text file, it may be an Excel file, it may be a comma separated file, it may be a Oracle database, it may be a PHP, MySQL, whatever database. It is stored somewhere. Then, when I try to find how many students are there in data computer science, or how many students registered for web technologies, how many registered for data analytics. So data retrieval will be a lot of problem. Although all students computer science is same, CSE is also a computer science student, CSC also a few times is a computer science student. So to have the options limited and to have a common data, we need obviously for a name, everybody has a different name. They have to type that. We cannot have something, we cannot give a user an option to select a name. So name will be a text field. Phone number will also be a text field. That is a different issue. That phone number, if it's a 10-digit phone number, somebody is typing 12-digit, that's a different issue. That's a completely different issue. But phone number also obviously has to be a text field itself. Now here in case of departments, where we want to give user predefined options. So we will not be, where we have predefined options, we will not be giving user a text field to enter. We will be giving user some other input control with the options so that he can select that control. Remember that he has to select it. He cannot input it. He needs to, selection is also an input, one sense, but a user has to input it. Rather than typing, inputting, he will be selecting from those options. So whenever we have a predefined options, we will be using 4 things are there now. There are 4 options available with us. One is we can use checkbox. The other thing is checkbox. The other thing is we can use radio buttons. Third one is we can use what we call here as drop-down boxes or a menu. Here in HTML we call it as select menus, select menu. And the fourth one is select menu with multiple options. Fourth one is select menu with multiple options, multiple selections, not options, multiple selections. So these are the 4 things we can use: checkboxes, radio button, select menus, and multiple select menus and multiple selections. Now in select menus, sometimes also, depending upon when you move to C#, it is known as drop-down list or drop-down box. So they are same, drop-down list. And this one sometimes known as list box. So it depends upon different languages which use different terminologies. But altogether, the 4 are all same. The 4 are there in every language where we have graphical user interface or where we have GUI. Then now we decided that department, we should not have an input field. We should give the user the option to select from the predefined values. Now the question is, should we use checkboxes, radio buttons, or select menus with multiple selection or list boxes, drop-down boxes or left boxes? Now the question is, which one should we use? Now remember that all these four input controls, have predefined options. Among these predefined options, if you want to give user option to select on only one among the options, then we need to go for radio buttons and drop down list. Then we need to go for these two things. But suppose if from among multiple options, if a user, if we give allow the user, or if we want user to select multiple options among the given options, then we can go for checkboxes or list box or multiple selection in the menu. Checkboxes or multiple selections in the menu. So that is why we have these four controls. Now comes the problem. Third question. Department. Obviously, a student cannot be in 4 departments. He can only be in 1 department. So we will be giving 4 options to the user, and he can exercise or he can select only 1 option. So obviously, we'll need to go for radio buttons or drop down list. Radio buttons or drop down list. Now we will use radio buttons. We'll come back to later to answer this question, that should we use radio buttons or should we use drop down list. We'll come back and answer this question later. So department is there. I'll just have BR tag. I'll go to the next line so that it doesn't confuse us. Then now, how do we use this? What do you call radio buttons? We can do the same input. Type should be radio. Type should be radio. Now comes the name. Now here, I told you name should be unique for every input control. So here we used a unique name as sname. Here ph. Here pwd for this one. And here also I will have the name as DEPT as the department. Now comes the interesting part. Department is there. DEPT. Then which department? So I'll give the value. That is when user select this department. Let us say CSE. And I'll close this. Text, what do you call? Block. What I'll do is I'll have a BR tag over here. BR tag over here, and within BR this next line we will have a radio button. So the same way, let us have EC, and let us also have mechanic. Things. Let me have EC, let's say MECH for mechanic. I'll just save this. Okay. Don't bother about name what I'm using. Same name for all 3 controls. Don't bother about that. I'm just saving this. And let us refresh. You can find that we have 3 radio buttons. But do you know which radio button are you selecting and what's the value that should be sent? No. So here, just by providing the input type radio button CSE value as CSE, it will only create a radio button. There will not be any text here. So this text we have to explicitly have it outside the input this thing, the radio button part, outside that. So let us have here computer science. Let's say computer science. Here we will say electronics community. And then here we will say mechanical. Okay, that's all. We can type other things later. So let us save this, refresh it. Now you can see that this is computer science. This is electronic. So we are giving these as the options to this user. And among these three options, there are predefined options. User can select only one option. That is the radio button. Now, when I click this radio button, what actually happens is when the data is sent, we will talk about later how the data is sent, but when the data is sent, it is not that electronics COMMU will be sent, but instead of that, the value of this radio button. What is the value of this radio button? For electronics communication text, the value of this radio button is ECE. So when the data is sent or when we store this data for retrieving the data later, this ECE will be stored, not electronics and COMMU. So whatever value you provide in the value attribute, that value will be sent to the data server and saved. If I select mechanical, if I'm selecting mechanical, then MECH will be sent, not mechanical. If I select CSE, it will be computer science will not be sent. It will be CSE. So that is the value which we are going to have. Now, let us come to subject part. Let us come to subject part. We will, I'll discuss this later. Why the name has to be same. Why the name has to be same, I'll discuss it later. Let us come to the subject part. Subject also, subject also, what we have is, we have a predefined subject names. And now let us have the option that the user will be able to select multiple subjects. So obviously for this, we will not be using a radio button, because if we use a radio button, what actually happens is user will be able to select only one subject. So now let us have a subject here. I will have subject BR. Then for this one, we will use the input control. We will have the input control. But instead of radio, we need to use checkbox. Instead of radio, we need to use checkbox. Now this checkbox, it's a one word, checkbox. Checkbox. Let us give the name as SUP. And let us say, what is the first subject? What should be the first subject? Let us say web programming. Let's say web programming. So I'll just write WP over here. Remember here also web programming will not be sent. It's the WP which will be sent. So let us have, let's say 4 more subjects. So let's say the other subject is computer networks. Then third subject, let us say, is databases. Databases. And fourth subject, let us say, what? Data mining. So value, let us give this as WP, this as CN, this as DBMS, and let us give this as DM for data mining. Now, let me save this file and let us refresh it. You can find that checkboxes are created where a user will be able to select multiple options. User will be able to select multiple options from a set of options. So this is the difference between radio buttons and checkboxes. So I hope till now things are clear. And obviously, when I'm selecting computer networks, means computer networks will not be sent as the value. It will be CN, the value which is there for the value attribute, that is CN, will be sent. The same case as with respect to the radio buttons. The same case there. So I hope there is no problem till now. Let us come to the other things, that is the radio buttons and all. Now suppose I have this country. Now I need to give users the option of country. Obviously, I will not give user of a text field there, because somebody will type USA, somebody will type United States, somebody will type United States of America. All three will have different values, but all three belongs to the same country. So obviously here also we will be providing. And should I give user multiple options for the country? No. He can only be as a resident of one country at a time. So obviously this also should be from among a collection options, the user can only select one option. So can I use radio buttons? Just answer me, anyone. Can I use radio buttons? No. Why not? Answer is correct. Absolutely correct. It's not feasible to use radio buttons for a country. Why not? Oh, very good. Length. The size of the options you have. The length, obviously. Now, department we had, computer science, electronic, mechanical. Even if you have 6 more, it doesn't matter. We can create a table over here and then have 6 more options which can be shown. But suppose if there are 252 countries, 252 countries, is it possible to have radio buttons for 252 countries in a list box, or in a 2 columns, or in 3 columns, or in a 4 columns? It's not feasible to have 252 options to a user to select among the 252 options a single option. So in that case, where we can use radio buttons, absolutely no problem, but it's not feasible to use it. It's not the right way to do it. So where the length of the options, or where there are a large number of options, from where user has to select a single option, we will not be using radio buttons. We need to use something known as what do you call a select menu, as an as the control, as the input control, for selecting just a one option among a large number of options. So for that is the reason. And same thing as for when we have that multiple selections, same thing works for that. That is, if you the list box, what I told you, list box. That list box also, you can select multiple options, but when there is large set of options available, we will be using the list box, not check boxes. So let us come to this country part. Country, and to have the select menu, we need to use select as the tag, and this select tag also closes. We will have slash select, and obviously the select tag will also have a name. Let's say COUNT, no, not CON, country, for country. And then within this select tag, we need to have option. So we will use option, and we need to use option tag. This option tag also opens and closes. Option tag also opens and closes. This option tag will also have a value. As we have a value here for checkboxes and radio buttons, we have a value for the option tag and name for the select tag. Name for the select tag. So this is the this is how we will have. Now let's say US. Here you can say, let's say America, and let us have 4 more options. Let's say IN, for India, and let us give here UK, or let's say United Kingdom, and let's say what EU, let us say Australia. Let us save this and we will see how it works. We have this one. Now here you can find this is address is coming here itself because I did not use a break tag after select. So let me just use a break after select. Let me save this and just refresh it. You can find that I have the list there from where, or I have a menu here, what we call it, or a list from where I can select only one option. Only one option. Obviously, I'm using only just 4 countries here, though you can have a large list of countries. Then this by default is you can select only one option. So this same thing, if you want to make it as a list box where we have to select multiple options, then what we can do is we can use, there is an attribute as multiple, and with its value also we need to provide. Let me save this. So here, this just works like a checkboxes where we can select. You can see this is not a drop-down box. There's a list box. All the items are defined here. I can select India, and I can press Control, select UK also. So multiple attributes can be, multiple options can be selected from this box. So if we have this multiple as the attribute here, it becomes a menu box where we can select multiple options, or it becomes as a list box. If you do not have the multiple attribute, then this becomes a normal drop-down box. Normal drop-down box where you can select only one option at a time. So this was about the what do we call about the radio buttons, check boxes, list boxes, and drop-down boxes, or menus with selection option. Then we will look at the address. This address part. Now, till now, whatever we looked at, these were all selection. The others ones was that is name, phone number, password field, and all. These are all single line. This is name, phone number. All these are single line. But there may be some cases where we need to have the give the user the option to have a multiple text. To have multiple text. I mean text on multiple lines. For example, your email is there. In your email, the email form, what you see, email form, the address field will be obviously a single line. To whom you are sending. The subject field also will be a single line. But actual message or actual email, the content of actual email, that actual email will be, I mean, multiple lines. You have to have multiple lines for the email there. You cannot type the whole email in a single line. So in such scenario, we have something known as text area. So here, instead of using a multiple line, instead of using input type as the text, we have a tag known as text area. Tag known as text area. This tag opens. We have to close this tag also as we open and close the select. Now let me save this. Obviously, I need to have the name for this. tag, let's say name as ADR for address. Now let me save this. You will refresh it. You can find that there is a box created where I can type on multiple lines. I can type. So this is usually used for used for content where we want to have user type in multiple lines. Best example is the address itself. The second example is the when we have that email form for composing. The email itself will be on multiple lines, so we need to use a text area. Now there are several options for this text area. We can increase the size of this instead of having only this much size. We can increase its width. So let us use columns attributes for that. Let's say COL. Now COLS. So columns. If I have something as 50 columns, let's say what happens. You can see that the size has increased. The area of the text area has increased. The same way we can have the vertically the number of lines. So that we can do it using rows. And let's say we have 10 rows. It's not that only 10 rows it can have or 10 lines it can have. 10 rows are visible. So this are visible at a time. It's not that it can only have 10 lines, 10 rows are visible. So these are the different, the input controls which we will be working with. Now, let me just change this to, let's say, 5. Now we will come to the last part. User, we have created all this fields, and then this, what do we say, the entire web page, the form we have created for a user to register. And then ultimately, after filling all these things, he should click a button to send this data. So we will have button controls. These are also input controls. So we are not typing something on a button, but we are giving an input to the web page by clicking that button. So click is an input to that for the web page. It's an input for that web page. So now, last thing we will see is the buttons. Now, usually what happens is when we have created a web page, there will be two kind of buttons. One button is to submit the data. The other button is to cancel whatever user has filled. So let us go back to our HTML page before closing that. Obviously, it should be on the next line. So I'll have a BR tag over here. And on the next line, let us use input. And the type will be, let's say we are first type of the button is submit. So the type itself will be submit. Then obviously name will be there. So let us call this button as SBT for submit button. Then there should be a value on that button. So let's say the value which displayed on that button, let's say, I'll say submit itself. Submit with S capital. That's all. / close this. So now what happens is a button will be created which says submit. I'll just give one more space over here so that it will be easy for us to understand. So there will be a button created which says submit. When I click this button, this entire thing gets submitted to some place on the web server. Anyways, this is a submit. Now, this submit, what value you're seeing on the button, submit, the text on the button, can be changed by changing the value in the value attribute. Instead of submit, let me say register. And let me say register. Remember, I'm not changing the type. Type remains submit itself. I'm only changing the value register. So now what happens is, if I refresh it, the value, the button becomes a register button, though it's a submit button itself. The purpose of submit button is to take the input from the user and submit it to some place on a server. That's the thing. The other button is, let me just have a few more spaces, line breaks here. I mean, it depends upon how you try to have your web page. The other type is reset. Reset. So reset means when a user clicks this, let us say, let's say clear as the value of the button. So what happens is when user clicks this, whatever he has typed or whatever is there on the web page, that thing gets reset. So here we have register button, clear button. Let me say this one was typed this thing. If I click clear, this thing, these things go down. Let me select the radio button and type something over here. Check two check boxes, select United Kingdom here. If I say clear, everything goes blank. The whole thing becomes blank. So it's just resetting the web page, and when you click register, it's a submit button. Clear is a reset button. So these are all the different types. Though we can create our own buttons also in the what do we call? We can create our own buttons in the sense you may find a button known as forgot password button. So if user clicks that button, he goes somewhere else to recover his password. So that way, submit and reset are predefined. It has predefined functionality, but we can have our own buttons that can be done using. Let me have a break here, and let us have this input control itself. So instead of reset, I'll say button. The type will be button itself. Okay, here let's say for reset R button RBT will say, and here BT, let's say BT1 for button 1. Let the value, let's say, forgot password. Let's say forgot password. Though it doesn't make sense in the register page, but I'm just for the sake of creating a button, we are using forgot password over here. If I just refresh this, you can find that there's a forgot password button created. But when I'm clicking, when I'm clicking this, nothing is happening. For example, I have selected something, I inputted this. If I click clear, all these things goes. If I select these things, I select something over here and I have put something here. If I click forgot password, nothing is happening. If I say register, the data is submitted. If I say clear, the data is resetted. But forgot password, nothing is happening. Why? Because this reset button and submit buttons are predefined buttons. The website, the browser knows what to do with these buttons. But as far as a user-defined button, as far as this button is concerned, we are saying button, it's just a button where forgot password is the label there for the button. So here, what we need to do is we have to explicitly define when the functionality of this button. When a user clicks this button, what happens? Now that functionality is defined using JavaScript, which we are going to see in the next unit. So that is the functionality. We will define the functionality using JavaScript. So these were the different controls which we had. Now there are few more things with respect to not input controls like read only, like an attributes. For example, what we can do is we can use a read only attribute and that will disable the what do you call the control. For example, let us say this name is there, obviously, let us make this name as when user types, let him show this name. Then let me have one more field here, roll number. Now what I want to do is, okay, not let us make it the reverse way. That's much better. Let's have name. Let's have roll number, the top one, and this input text instead of S name, let's say ROLL or roll number. Now what I'll do is here roll number. I'm just assigning a value. Value as, let's say, 1002. Sorry, not in roll number. I'll not assign a value on the roll number. I will just what is happening here? Value. I'll just have it over here. This blank, right? So save this. Let us refresh. Now, usually what happens is, what I want is, I want this not to be a registration page. I want this page to be update page. I want to give you user to update his information as well as to update, select some other subject to just update it. So what I want is when roll number 102 is typed, a web page will have the functionality that when it is typed, it shows the name of the user. Look, assume that there is the name of the user as XYZABC. So when I'm typing 1002, these things will come up, or the other rest of things will come up. But what I want is, user, a student, should not be able to change his name. This information is retrieved from the database. He will be able to change his password, his phone number, select his subjects, address, everything, but not the name. So what we can do is now in this case he is able to type anything. User is able to type, a student is able to type anything. But what I can do is I can make this, which one, the name attribute as read only. So I will have it here, read only equal to in quotes I'll say read only. Like multiple into equal to multiple, the same attribute and its value is same. Let me save this, refresh it, and I'll 1002. And this field I will not be able to type anything, though I can change phone number. But this name field I will not be able to type anything in this name field. So we will be able to make this field as read only using the read only attribute. That is, user will be seeing this field. His name is seen there, but he will not be able to edit. It becomes read only. So that is done using the read only attribute. This read only attribute. Then there is another thing called as disabled attribute. Now let me use this disabled. Let us use it on a different thing. Let us use it on password field. So I'll say disabled equal to with input disabled. So remember that this name thing we are making use of read only, and this password thing we are making use of disabled. Refresh. Name read only. It's shown. Nothing can happen. Disabled, you will at least name you will be able to select it, but disabled you will not be able to select it itself. It is not. It is there, but it is not there. Name you will not. Read only. It is there, but it's not editable. Now let me click register. So if you see in register, the difference I'll show you. Without disabled, I'm showing you. We will remove this disabled. I am removing this disabled. Removing. Some password. I'm saving it. Okay. Refresh. Then here roll number is 1102. Phone number. Let's say something 123. Password. Now let's say 000. Computer science department. And nothing else. I'll just click register. Remember, password is enabled now. I'm just clicking register. Now here you can, on the web browser, obviously I cannot enlarge the web browser. I can enlarge this text, but I'll read it and show you. We will have roll number equal to 1002 and S name so and phone number so. We also have PWD, password equal to 000. So password, this field is there. Name is read only, you cannot change it. So this field name value is getting passed to the web server. Even password value is getting passed to the web server. If you look at it very carefully, I mean this thing, I can increase that font of that small thing. But if you can see, it's a PW00, it's going. But when I make this field as disabled, when I make the password field as disabled, I'll just refresh it. I will not be able to type anything. Phone number, let's say 123. This is, let's say 1001. If I send this data, this field, though it is there, is visible, but it's disabled. It will know, it's considered as it's not there itself. And here you can find that PW attribute will not be transmitted. Sorry, PWD value, that is the name of that field, will not be, the data of that field will not be transmitted to the web server. So this is the difference between read-only and disabled. Read-only, the data will be passed to the server. It is there, it's visible to the user, but the user cannot make changes in that value. Whereas disabled means virtually that field is not present, though it is maybe visible to the user, but it's not present on the, virtually it's not present on the web form. So this was how to create web forms. Now, what I say is, I mean, things in this unit is completed, but what I feel is, let us have one more session, an art session. I suppose on Monday we're going to have it. An art session. Let us again spend this session on this web forms. This especially web forms. I'm not talking about HTML tags and all. On web forms, because we will create this web form, and this web form we will be using at multiple places in different units. For example, in second unit when we go, we have something known as JavaScript. So there also we will use the same kind of a web form. Then in your third unit or fourth unit, where we have Java, servlets and JSPs, there also we will be using same type of a web form. So what I say is, let us, though we have completed the first unit as of now, but what we will say is, we will we will spend an hour more on this web form, because I need to explain you the attributes of the form tag, actually, this form tag. So though I can just say it in a 5 minute, next 5 minutes, I can say that this also will have a name, because name we have been seeing everywhere. Let's say F1 as the name. But there are certain other things also. There is a method which is there, and there is action also which is there. So without using these things, form can be created. But these are the other important things which we need to look into greater detail. So what I'll say is, and then we will spend 1 more hour, though it doesn't matter. I mean, so much time has been spent on this first unit. Only in HTML, we have spent so much time, but doesn't matter. Once things are clear, be it will be easy for us to solve the more complex issues there. So in the next class also, though we completed that first unit today, but next class also we'll spend some more time on this HTML part, especially the forms part. So any questions for this session or any other issues? If it's there, then let us take these questions, take up these questions. I will stop sharing. Any questions? How many are there? Okay, no. If there are no questions, then let us end this class. If there are no questions, then we will just wind up. Okay. Okay then. Thank you very much. We will meet in the next class on Monday. Kindly please leave the meeting. Not the meeting actually. Leave the class. Leave the session.